Happy Sunday, everybody. This is Karen here, your favorite virtual assistant. Today's live is going to be amazing. I've been excited since I spoke to Lucille. Me and Gail sat down about it. I'm thrilled for today's live. So, Gail, kick it off for today. Introduce yourself, and then we're going to go on to Lucille.
Hey everybody, my name is Gail Withers. I'm a training facilitator hailing from the beautiful island of Barbados, and I partner with business owners to create training programs that will empower their teams professionally and personally. And in my other life, I host this Sunday live chat with Karen, and we talk about lots of different topics that are all important. And today we have with us Lucille Reddic. We're going to be covering relationships generally, but especially from a female perspective, so that we can survive and thrive in our marriage. And I see Lucille smiling, and that's because I was sharing some personal information
Mhm.
earlier about why I am a divorce statistic, but people are still alive, so this is good. I'm not in prison, nobody has died. So, Lucille, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to this stage and what you're doing, and of course, welcome to our Sunday live chat.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to meet with you and talk to you today and your audience. My name is Lucille Reddic, and I am here in Dallas, Texas. I've been married for 37 years, and if the Lord allows us to live until the 26th of January, we will be married 38 years. So we are very close to 38 years. But what has brought me here is that I am a child of divorced parents. I am a child who was also adopted. And so I have seen many of my friends who have been married for a time and then who have suffered with divorce. And so I have experienced it as a child. I've seen what it does as an adult. And I have such a heart and a passion for women who feel like that's their only option. And so what I do is I give women a different perspective on some things to think about and some things to focus on in their marriage to help them make it through the rough patch. Because I mean, just the rough patches are part of the journey. We look at the Disney movies and we feel like that, okay, we're going to find the person we love, find the person that we enjoy company, and we're just going to ride off into the sunset.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
No, that's not how it works. No
that's not
Yeah.
magic
right.
carpets. Oh
Nope.
no.
No.
You go right off into the sunset probably, but you're gonna be mad and airborne and you know doing all kinds of stuff to get to the end. So, which is that's the goal is to stay in it. So
Right.
that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, man. I'm excited. I mean, y'all already know I'm excited for this topic because one for me, I was divorced, of course. I was married before, but just what, especially I find for myself, one of the reasons I find like self reflection is important, right? What happened, what transpired, because as anything, it's two people in a relationship. This so everybody plays a part in it. So for me, I play a part. So what part did I play? Like, what can I do better for my next relationship, right? For my next marriage. But also, we was talking about that in the back end, how important it is to have other married, healthy, I should say healthy, not just married, healthy marriage friends, right? Or community, I should say. Because sometimes you don't know, especially if it's your first marriage or you don't know an example of a marriage, you don't know what that looks like. It's good to have other perspective. Because sometimes you can, depending on you as a person, you can over internalize things, or you could kind of make things bigger than what it could possibly is. So I think it's
Absolutely.
important to have other friends or other communities that are married, or if you're somebody that just wanted to or see marriage in the future.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I realize now how important that is.
Yes, and that's what I do. I share with wives to
Yeah,
be, husbands
right.
to be.
Husbands to
I
be,
share with
yeah,
anybody who is interested in helping their relationship to thrive. And so
yeah,
that's where I'm.
I think that's good. But I know social media plays a part. Do you think social media plays a part in maybe how people view marriage or the
Mhm.
idea of marriage? Because I find that some people request very unrealistic of what they want in a mate, right?
Oh,
And
absolutely.
do you
I,
think that plays a part in it
I have
today?
I believe that it plays a big part in it. And the reason why I say that is because I'm not a big TV person, but the
Mm-hmm.
shows that I have seen, like on TV, or the things that now I am a big Instagram or Facebook person, so I have seen
Yeah.
a lot on there. But if you go by the media, television media,
Mm-hmm.
social media, it gives a one-sided picture because nobody's going to post. Nobody but me. I posted something a couple of weeks ago where I was
Yeah.
mad at my husband.
Yes, I saw that. I appreciated that so much. Yeah, I
But
saw
most
that.
of the time, people are not going to post that. They're going to post the highlights, right?
Yeah.
And the highlights, if that's all you see, that's all
Mm-hmm.
you think that there is. And you'll be looking at your life like, what's wrong with me? I got this
Right.
dude over here ain't doing none of that. He ain't taking me to the Greek islands, and
Right.
we're not in Hawaii. We're not flying and doing this and doing that.
Right.
Yeah, but that's just one day out of their life, 1 week out of their life.
Right.
And they have broken it up and showed it to you multiple times to make you think that, that's what they're doing every day. And, when you wake up to somebody and your breath is stinking, you got the stuff in your eyes and all that kind of stuff, that's the real stuff. Who's going to post that? Who wants to even see that?
Right.
Nobody.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree, Lucille, because if you're checking me, you're going to get my head tie every night. You're going to get my face cream, and I'm just going to look very different when I'm in bed than when we go out. So, can you please load some
Absolutely.
stamina because it's not the same.
Right.
But what I wanted to say was, that was a very good point about television media, which tends to take a back seat now to social media. But
Mhm.
Lucille, if I can take you back to that Disney reference you made, is that I think, especially for us females growing up, we see the Cinderella movies and
Mhm.
all of these movies, Rapunzel and everything, where there's a chick, there's a prince, he saves
Mhm.
her, they get married, and they live happily after. And I think unconsciously we want that for ourselves. We want a
Mhm.
prince to come. He's tall and beautiful and handsome, and he rescues us from whatever we need rescuing from. And we go off into the sunset and we live happily ever after. And half of the time, for sure, that's never how it goes. But I'm just thinking as we grow up and we keep seeing these things that are fed into our consciousness, then we take that into our relationships as we get older. So, have you found that as well?
Oh, yes. Um, the women that I talk to and counsel, they feel like when the rough patch comes, well, I don't understand, but we were so happy. Everything was going
Mhm.
good. Okay, yeah. This is just the other side of it. You can't have
Right.
one without the other side. And I tell them,
Right.
think about, you're bringing a frame of reference and they're bringing a frame of reference to the table, and you guys are trying to make that work together. It's
Mhm.
difficult for anybody, whether you're married, whether you're on your job, whether you're with your business partner, whatever it is, it's hard to get two people on the same page about anything.
Yeah.
So that idea that things are going to always be good is the wrong idea, and that's what I help them with, is that you got to see that it's going to be this other part, and that's just part of it. It doesn't mean that you throw the baby out with the bathwater because now you're going through a rough patch. It's just a rough patch. You're growing, he's growing, she's growing, and all of these life experiences are taking you down the same road, hopefully together. But what you used to like before, you may not like now. What he used to like before, he may not like now. So you got to navigate that and just keep changing and growing at the same time. But I love your post that you put in earlier, Gail, where you were
Yeah.
talking about focusing on the toilet paper being up or down, or the clothes being hung out, right this way or that way. Oh my goodness, you were stepping on my toes.
But Lucille, those things were very important. I mean, how can you hang clothes upside down? Like, how does that work? How can you put the toilet paper on the roll wrong? Like how? But I find too that sometimes you get married and you think because this person loves you,
Mhm.
they're going to give in to whatever you want, and it will
Mhm.
always be what you want. And then you fight for what you think you want. But in the grand scheme of things, was it such a big deal? The clothes will dry regardless of how you hang them up. They may take you a little longer to iron them. You'll still be able to get the toilet paper off of the roll. It's like, does it matter if the toilet seat is up or down? Just try not to fall in when you go, is what I say. So, just, is it worth it? I don't know. I don't know. That's why we're having this
Yeah.
conversation. Remember, I said I am a divorce statistic. There's a reason. There's a reason why I'm divorced. So I'm just saying, like, when you're in it, the things that seem really important or frustrating, like laundry. The laundry basket is right there. Why are you missing it? Why are you missing it? You are an adult. Can you please put the clothes inside so that I don't have to pick them up? And that's another thing, we talk about balance. It seems then you're not doing what you're supposed to do, aka put your clothes in the laundry, which means then that when I am coming to do laundry, then that falls on me to pick up behind you, kind of thing. There's a lot of mental acrobatics and stuff, Lucille. Um, but it's good to have the conversations before. I think
Yeah.
counseling before is good, but you also need counseling during, because you can never see into the future, and you think you might know the person you're marrying, but sometimes you really don't get to know them until you're in it, and then certain things happen, and then you see their response. You're not going to see a response until something happens, and
Right.
then
Yeah.
you have to work through it. So I mean, I don't know anybody who ever said, I want to get married to get divorced. No, you
Right.
get
No.
married because you're
Right.
in it for the long haul. It's just sometimes things happen and they seem, so much bigger than they really are, but that's because, you're in it. If that makes sense. It's easier
It,
for somebody not in it to be able to talk to you and say, okay, Gail, is that such a big deal? Is really not such a big deal, because looking at how the toilet paper rolls on or off, is that more significant than if your spouse got ill and had to be in hospital for a long time,
Right.
and then you didn't have to have the conversation about the toilet paper roll? Like what's really important for you? Is it
Right.
really such a big deal? Really?
yeah,
I
that's why I said to your point, you were stepping on my toes because growing up, my mom wanted things done a certain way. And so that's the way I did them. And that toilet paper roll was a thing, it needed to be on there right. And I brought that into my marriage. Uh, I don't care how that toilet paper's on there right now. You know what? Sometimes if he don't even put it on there, I just leave it where he put it. If he put it on the floor next to the thing, okay, that's where you want it. We're not gonna complain about it.
It's funny that you mentioned that, but it brought me to a good point, because you mentioned that based on how what you saw your mother do. Do you feel like a lot of us do that, right? Based on what we see our parents do, we carry that
Oh
into our
yeah,
relationship, and this
I
is
believe
that means it's the
so.
right way of doing things, but we just tend to carry things or
Look,
expectations, right?
look, and the thing about it is, I'm gonna say for me and the
Mm-hmm.
women that I counsel, we feel like I felt like that my way was the best way. Now I'm gonna tell you for sure, my way is the best way, but it's not the only way. I know in my mind, my way it is the best way,
Right.
because I'm
Right.
always thinking about convenience, like you talked about,
Right.
Gail, about having stuff in their proper place. I hate looking for things. I
Right.
want things to be put back in their proper place.
Right.
Having things a certain way. I even hang my clothes up. When I hang my clothes up, the, the shirts are turned a certain way. The hanger, all of my shirts and clothes are hung up the same way. I'm systematic like that way.
Yeah, and color coded, Lucille, color coded. They have to be color. I'm not looking for the yellow and the blue. Yeah, hello, no, I don't have time. I don't have time for
It
that.
is the best way, but it's the
It
best
is
way
the
for
best
me.
way.
It isn't the best way for him because his mind don't
Right.
even work like that. And
Right.
so why am I going to stress myself out
Mm-hmm.
behind something that is so small and in the grand scheme of things doesn't even matter? What if we didn't
Mm-hmm.
even have no clothes? We didn't even have no toilet paper.
Right.
What,
That would have no argument then. It'd be
what am I
another
do?
argument.
What I'm gonna do? I'm gonna show up to the divorce court saying, Y'all just
Right.
don't understand. He just
Right.
he didn't do stuff the way, he squeezed the toothpaste in the middle and it don't do right.
Right.
It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. So
Right.
that's why I say and that's where I got the topic from. When I talked, my TED talk was about stop focusing on the socks, because
That's what.
I was
Mm-hmm.
focusing on those socks because in my mind he was doing it to piss me off. He saw when he threw those socks over there towards the hamper and it missed. He knew that they fell there and he refused to go pick them up. But guess what? I know my husband now. That was early on.
Right.
He ain't paying no attention to them socks. He was probably looking at TV and threw those socks over that way.
Right.
Oh, and the other part of it is he probably thought he was doing me a favor. Because he really is a thoughtful guy. If they were near the hamper, she ain't got to come over here to the bed to get them.
It's close enough. It's in the
So
vicinity.
now what you want? You want to come over here to the bed and get them? At least I got them over there close to the hamper. So, it depends on what a person's got on in their mind. I could have
Right.
threw away my whole marriage behind socks, toilet paper, the toilet
Mm.
seat being left up, not putting
Yeah,
stuff in the
yeah.
dishwasher. So
And the toothpaste tube. I forgot the toothpaste tube. That's a big one for me too,
the
Lucy.
toothpaste. Wait a minute. No, I got one for you. The bread ties. I don't know what happened to them doggone things. The bread ties, when you take the tie off the bread, he just throw and then he just wrap it up and put a little knot in it.
Yeah. And that knot sometimes is so tight that you cannot get it undone. But if there was a
Right now,
bread tie, if
now
there
I
was a
gotta
bread tie, that's what the bread tie is for. And then we have these conversations, and then my face gets all thing, and then you're judging me, you're judging me. I'm judging you because the bread tie is there for a reason. Like, can we just use the bread tie? But it is good to have these kind of conversations. And as I said also in my post, it's a pity I didn't have access to these conversations in the beginning. I'm not saying that I would be still married. I'm just saying that perspective is so important to how you live your life, and how you see things, and then acknowledging, most importantly for me, like, how you were brought up and what you saw may not
Mhm.
necessarily be what you take with you into
me too.
your marriage and or
Mhm.
any other relationships that
Mhm.
you might have, because it's different. It's
Yeah.
different, and
Can
everybody's
I add
different.
can I add one thing before we leave this topic if you're gonna move on?
Mhm.
Is I'm gonna tell you the epiphany for me came. It must have been the Holy Spirit talking to me in my brain because I was complaining about something, and all of a sudden it said, "You don't do everything right either. You got some stuff that he don't like, and he don't even say nothing to you about it, but you browbeat him." Because believe me, there was some times where I was I can be really nitpicky and browbeat and do the little. I try not to be a nag, but looking back, I think that I was in some instances. Not that I stayed on it, but it was like every time it came up, I'd say, you didn't do so and so and so and so or something like that. So I'm saying that to say that when I realized that I'm not always right
Mhm.
and that I do stuff that annoys him, I thought I was perfect. You mean to tell me I'm not perfect? I couldn't be doing stuff that annoys him. But once I had the realization, girl, you annoying.
I think a lot of us don't realize. I mean, I think a lot of us are like that, right? We assume that our way is the right way, and that our partner or whoever does things to annoy us. But we are no, you're right. We are annoying too. We have annoying traits that a person's like, oh my god, like really. But I think I think we have to allow each other to give each other's grace,
Right.
right? And just that room.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it leads me to the second question, which it states, how important is it for us to give ourselves room to just be, right?
How important is it for
For
us to
us,
give ourselves room to just
just
be?
be, right?
Wow. That's a really good question. I think it's very important because let me take y'all back to a little story right quick. It's going to be short. When I first got married, we moved into a home and I had been brought, I mentioned my mother earlier. She was kind of critical now that I think back about it. She always wanted things done a certain way, and I always tried to do them a certain way. As being trying to be that good child. So she always talked about keeping a neat house. Your husband is gonna want you to keep a neat house. She didn't know the husband I married. Oh, I was gonna marry, but as a kid, she was preparing me
Mm-hmm.
in case I got a husband. I think one of her husband had been wanted a neat house all the time. May have been OCD or something like that. And so I went into my marriage with that in my mind. And every night I cooked 5 days a week. I didn't cook on the weekends, but I cooked. I cleaned up the kitchen. I washed every dish afterward. We didn't have a dishwasher at that point. I vacuumed and mopped the floor every night. So I say that to say this is that I made myself sick. I
Mm-hmm.
developed a rash. And the type of work I was doing, I was working outside. The rash got infected. I went to the doctor to see about the rash. And after they got finished with the infection and everything and ran all these tests to see if I was allergic, and I was doing my own stuff too, my own investigation. I changed my soap, I changed what I was eating, I changed all this. And after we got out through with all of the testing and everything, the doctor asked me, he said, "Are you under any stress?" And I thought, no, I'm not under any stress. And I thought about it. I said, well, I just got married a while. And this was in our first year of marriage, probably in our first 6 months of marriage. I said, well, we just got married and we bought a house and we got car payments and, da 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 da. And he said, I think what your experiences is stress. And I thought, okay. I went home and I told my husband, I said, well, I went to the doctor and he said I might be under stress. So I'm going to stop doing all this stuff I've been doing. And he said, that was okay, baby. Don't do that. I don't want you to be itching and scratching and stuff like that. And so the floors would not be mopped every night. They would get mopped on the weekends, maybe, or if I saw it needed to be done before then. I didn't. He started vacuuming some. I vacuumed some too. I just didn't put all that pressure on myself to be this perfect thing that my mom had told me I needed to be. And so I could just be me. And in being comfortable with just being me, he was okay with it. He never said a word about anything. And I told you how he is. He don't care. He never said a word. That wasn't even something that he even recognized as something important. That I washed, all the stuff every night, and that I mopped and I vacuumed and put everything away, and everything was pristine. He didn't care nothing about that. He probably would want me because he probably be like, "Come on in this bedroom,
Right.
come on in this bedroom. We let that stuff wait till tomorrow." He don't care nothing about that. He want this bedroom time. He want me. He want that
Right.
one-on-one time for us to talk and laugh and have a good time. So I hope that answers your question.
No, but that's a good point because a lot of us do that. At least I can speak for myself. We put those ideas, right? We gotta be cook, we gotta cook, and we gotta sweep, and we put all that pressure on ourselves, and we don't allow our partner to step up to help us, and then we wonder why we
Ooh, Karen, let's
tired.
talk about that. Let's talk
You
about
know,
that
let's
because
go.
I thought
Yes,
you handled that very well because
yeah.
she stopped after she got the ration and she went home and she
Mhm.
had that conversation with her husband, and I felt there was a part of the story missing. So the part that I found was missing is the part where she would say, "You see me here cleaning and cooking every day, and you don't even help me wash up, and you don't help me vacuum
Right.
it." That's the conversation I would have been having, Lucille.
Right.
But I take your point. Sometimes the things that are important for us, they're not important for our husbands, and they don't
Mhm.
even, they're seeing us do it, but they're not seeing us do it because
Right.
it doesn't register, and they don't even know why. We don't even know, they don't even know that we
Mhm.
brought this into the marriage from how we were brought up, or that
Right.
we think we need to do it. So yeah, we do things we think we need to do, and then when we don't, well, sorry, I can only speak for myself. When I didn't get the support I thought I could get, the world was coming to an end, and I could never have a quiet conversation because I would let it build up. So by the time I want to raise it with you and say, you see me doing these things, you don't even help me wash up, you don't vacuum, you don't mop,
Mhm.
it is not a quiet conversation, ladies. This is one where you would think somebody was dying for real, like, like, what is this woman screaming about? But it is because it has built up. And of course now your spouse is like surprised, like, where did this come from? What did I do? It wasn't what
Mhm.
you did, it's what you didn't do. And then,
Right.
so it's like walking a minefield of emotions and stuff. And so, Lucille, very well done. You handled that very well. I'm learning
Yeah.
from you after the fact because my conversations didn't go well.
Didn't
And you
go
still
that
want to
way.
be appreciated. You want to be appreciated for the stuff that you
Right.
do, but you're not going to get the appreciation I guess you're looking for because the person didn't want that in the first place. If you see what I
Right.
mean, the door could be shut or mocked or not. They want to be with you.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And that brings me to, I want to ask you a question, if you don't mind.
Still
So
no.
The
Hot
hot seat.
the hot seat. You're the
what came
guest.
to mind, and what I ask women is, do you think you had the language to be able to communicate your feelings about that prior to it, the volcano erupting?
That's a good
No,
question.
I didn't. I don't think I had the right language. I know people
Hmm.
talk about these five love languages and stuff. I didn't have the right language, and I never thought about it. For me, at that point, communicating was communicating. It wasn't about how I communicated, the choice of
Hmm.
words, setting a mood. I had a friend who, if she wanted her husband to do something, she would set a mood so that when she asked the question, the answer would always be yes. And I'm not going to go into the details of the entire mood, but who has time for that? But it worked for her. It worked for her. So I learned that, sometimes being a functional person and logical, and I can see it, but they can't see it. I don't have the time to help you to see it. This is how it is. Um, I paid the price. Lucille is laughing, but no, I know I paid the price. I know that I'm sure being married to me was so nerve wracking and stressful, and we lasted a while, but looking back, as I said, I know that there are things I could have done differently, things I could have
Hmm.
said differently.
Right.
I mean, and
Mhm.
he wasn't perfect either, but at the end of the day, it takes two people, and sometimes
Hmm.
somebody has to be the bigger person to see what needs to be done or take us where we need to be taken, stuff like that. So I admired that, you went home and you had the conversation with your husband. He said, no, 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 it's okay, it's okay. Somebody
Hmm.
else may have had a different response depending on your
Right.
relationship with that person,
Mhm.
so
Yep.
it's
That's
interesting. So I
interesting.
didn't have the language, I didn't have the skills. I think marriage and relationship also need skills. You
Hmm.
need to be taught communication skills, but also interpersonal skills.
Yeah.
I know it's not a
Yes.
job, but I think you need to learn how to deal with people, how to read their moods, how to read their
Hmm.
body language to see how they're feeling. I guess like a little bit of emotional intelligence,
Yeah.
and really
Hmm.
get to learn about that person. Because when you get married, there's no way you haven't grown up with this person, and they're not going to tell you everything about their lives. So you have to learn as you go along, and you have to be less judgmental. This is Gail's now. This is Gail's story. Less judgmental, less controlling, more understanding that it's not only your way. There are other ways out there that exists, and talk to people, talk to other couples. Nobody's going to judge you. I find a lot of us too, we don't want people to know our business because we
Yeah.
feel we're failing as well. So when we were going through our drama, you didn't want people to know
Right.
you had stuff
Right.
going on. Then when I was divorced, that was even worse. I didn't want anybody to know at all because
Mhm.
I really
Hmm.
felt that was such a big failure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always
Hmm.
tell women when they come to me for counseling to see if you have that friend in your circle, not that messy friend. Because let me tell you, I had a friend that early on, whenever I tell her something was going on, I mean, this is my high school friend. We grew up, we best buds, right? Yeah, she said, "Well, I don't think you should put up with that. You want me to get the U-Haul?"
Yeah. Who you speak to makes all the difference.
Yeah. So,
Right.
but contrast that friend with another friend who I was talking to you guys about earlier before the show started. A coworker of mine. Oh, uh, not she wasn't an African American woman. She was other than African American. She was 11 years older than me. She'd been married 19 years when her husband left her, and she was able to tell me some things from a perspective of reflection from what she had
Hmm.
gone through or whatever. And so she was always in my corner. I didn't even like that at the time. I would tell her something and she say, well, she had this high pitched voice. Well, let's just wait a minute. Let's look at this the right way. And I'd be like, I don't want to look at it the right way. I need him to do this, that, and the other. And he's not doing it. And she'd say, well, let's let's look at this. So uh having a friend in your corner or someone, even if they're not a close friend, and I know people, to your point, you were saying people don't like, they like to keep their business to
Hmm.
themselves, especially family. Because if your mother is not or father is not the type that can counsel you and still look at your partner um with love and thanksgiving, what do you call it, forgiveness in their heart, that's not the person to talk to, because they love you more than they're gonna love anybody
Right.
else, right? So then they gonna look at that other person kind of,
Mm-hmm.
So I always say maybe not your mom if she's not that type of person. Now my mom was. If I talked about my husband, she would sit there and listen, and she'd say, "Okay, well that's still your husband." And that's what she'd say. Now there wasn't any beating or any abuse or anything like that, but she would just say, "Well, that's your husband."
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way it is. And she didn't, and she wasn't any funny way when she saw him or anything. Matter of fact, she got on my nerves because she'd be like, "Fix your husband's plate. Why you not doing this for your husband? Why you not stop
Yeah,
it?"
Lucille, been there, done that. I figured he ate his own food himself. I mean, I don't.
I don't necessarily fix my husband's plate at home because he like to get what he like to get. But when we out, baby, I show out. And it make his
Mm-hmm.
chest puff out so because when we out, he look like the man. And that's what I want to do. I want him to look like the
Right.
man to his friends
Right.
and whoever we out with. And they go. I know
Right.
we was out one time at a barbecue, and that was a seafood boil at a friend of ours' house, and he was out on the patio talking to the men. And I said, "Baby, you want me to fix you a plate?" And I said, and he said, "Yeah." And I fixed him a plate, and I brought it back, and he wanted something else, and I brought it back or whatever. And the guy was sitting over there, and he said, "Well, I want one of those."
Correct. Yeah, yeah.
You got to get your own wife. That's all I can tell you. But those are the things where I stroke his ego. Men
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, most of the time, the way the Lord made them, they have big egos and they want to be stroked.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Mm-hmm.
what I say to that. If I may go back to your point, what you said earlier, Gail, about the love languages and having the language, because I identify with you quite a bit as far as early on. Um, I tell people I used to breathe fire and just leave devastation in my wake. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because that's just I'm kind of a direct person. I don't sugarcoat anything. It is the way it is. I wouldn't even
Mm-hmm.
be telling my husband stuff in order for him to do something different. We didn't even sometimes we didn't even have a conversation. I just go in on him and say, "Look, this is what pissed me off or whatever it was. This is this. I need you to handle it." And I done turned around and went on somewhere else because I was on my head. I needed to get it off my head so I could be okay. And now I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
I just need you to do the right thing. But I'd be telling my friend at work, and she'd say, "Well, what did he say?" His name is Donnie. "What did Donnie say?" I don't know what he said. He didn't say nothing. I don't care what he say. I need him to do because my love language is acts of service.
Okay.
Now, my husband's love language, what I found out once I read the book, is giving gifts. And so for me, the most loving thing he could do for me would be to take something off my plate that
Mm-hmm.
I got to do. If
Mm-hmm.
if if it's washing clothes, doing the dishes, cooking a meal, whatever it is, if you take something off my plate, ooh, baby, you look sexy.
Right.
Oh, look at you swinging that mop. Come here, give me them buns. But when he be bringing me a gift, I'd be like,
There you.
This ain't even nothing I would want for myself. I mean, it's cool and all, but I wouldn't have, if I wanted it, I'd have wouldn't bought it. But
Right.
once I realize that he is speaking love to me when he does that, now I can receive it as love because
Mm-hmm.
I know that's what he's doing. He's not gonna pick up a broom. He's not gonna pick up a mop. So I can stop wanting him to do that.
Right.
But what he can do and what he will do is when I put words to what I need. And so putting words to, "Sweetheart, can you help me out with something?" "Yeah, baby, what is it?" "I need you to do such and such and such and such." And he said, "Okay." Now the only caveat with that is when I first learned the words and how to say it and what the kind of conversation needed to go is because now I've told you I need it done. It's a time limit on it. I want it done like now.
I was about to ask that. That was gonna be my
I
final.
want you, I want you to get up now and do it, or do it before the end of the day, or whatever.
Mm,
But no, I had to grow into let him do it at his own time. He said he was gonna do it. Let him do it.
mm-hmm.
So, I'm kind of controlling. I see that. So, but like I said, now when I want to speak his love language, I bring him a little gift. If I'm somewhere, when I go to conferences and stuff, and I bring back a T-shirt and I say, baby, look, I got you a t-shirt. I got you a sock, a tie, whatever it is. He don't even care. He's like, oh, look at you.
Oh.
His favorite, wait a minute. His favorite little candy bar. Look, I got you a Kit Kat. I keep something in the drawer over here just when I need to love. It don't have to be nothing big. It
Right.
could be something real small. Just that I know that I thought about him. And that's making deposits in the love bank account for him. And when he
Mm-hmm.
does the things that I ask him to do, because I see that I need to ask him, he see that trash need to go out. He live here too, but guess what? He ain't gonna see it. So baby,
Mm-hmm.
take the trash out. The trash is coming for pickup tomorrow. Okay, baby, I'll get it. Don't you worry about it. I'll have it out there in the morning. Now he might get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and go, "Oh, wait a minute, I forgot to put the trash out," and run out there and do it. Now that wouldn't be ideal for me, but if that's the way he want to do it,
Right.
I don't care. He'll get it done.
Wow, that's it. That's good. That's good because you figured. I mean, y'all been married for so long, so y'all was able to figure that out, right? But for people that are new, I think that's the struggle, right? Just being able to ask or request what it is that you like from your partner, and understanding their language, and understanding that it's not going to be done the way you want it to be done, but it's going to be done. And I think
Yeah,
that's at least I can relate to that because I think that was my thing. I want it to be done when I say it, right? Like right now.
right. And
Yeah,
he's
I
not your
think most
kid.
of us,
Yeah.
most of us, most of us
Yeah, so I
can
could
be treated like
yeah,
children.
I could definitely relate to that a
I
lot.
stepped on, I stepped on your toes when I said that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you sure did,
Actually,
Pastor.
so Lucida's been dropping some really interesting nuggets. So one of the other
Yeah.
things that came to mind, so like when I had my shower, one of the ladies got up and she said I needed to be more. I think she said subservient, but she didn't mean it in a bad way. She just meant that I needed to serve more, accept that I should serve more. And I remembered it, Lucille, when you talked about serving your husband, because another lady, then after we were married, and I wouldn't do anything for my husband because, like, I figured, he's not disabled. He has two hands, he has two legs, he could do his food himself. Like, why are they asking me? But she was saying other people are watching, and if you have a lady who's interested in your husband and she's seeing, oh, she doesn't do this and she doesn't do that, or she's not supporting, she will stroke his ego, and then when you're by yourself you're wondering what happened was that you didn't stroke his ego enough. She used the word serve, so you need to serve more. You need to accept the fact that
Hmm.
he is your husband, and you need to let him wear the pants in the relationship
Yeah.
versus you. And I say all that to say in a roundabout way, sometimes we have all these women's rights and these equal marches and stuff that sometimes give us the impression that we are more than or equal to, and then sometimes that works opposite for us. Instead of stroking his ego, we take it away, and we take his power away, the power to provide for us, support us, do what in his mind he should be doing, because we've taken that away and we've become more dominant
Yeah, we
Yeah.
masculate them.
when we shouldn't.
Hmm.
And I'm
Hmm.
not, I'm not the counselor or the therapist or the psychologist, so I'm not even sure if I'm explaining it correctly, but I think I understood what she was trying to say. That how much is it off of you to bring him some food?
Hmm.
That wasn't the
Right.
right time for me at that conversation because I wasn't having it. Like, he could get up and go and get himself. Like, as I said, people, there's a reason I am a divorce statistic. I have learned my lesson, but I'm different now. I'm different. But it's all these little things that happen to you that you don't think about. Like,
Hmm.
because you just think, so we are in a relationship together and we're equal. Why can't he get his own stuff?
Right.
But he is your husband and you love him, and especially when you're out, show people that you're good, because if it doesn't look as though you're good, intentional or otherwise, then other people slip in and do other stuff, and you're
Yeah.
alone.
I would,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, that's
absolutely.
true.
But you bring up a very good point. Service.
Hmm.
If
Hmm.
husbands would serve their wives and
Hmm.
wives would serve their husbands, that would take the focus off of the other stuff, the negative parts. Because
Hmm.
our focus would be more on what is it I can do to speak love into his life? What is it I can do to pour love into his life today?
Hmm.
But sometimes, and I'm speaking for myself too, um, what is it when you're being selfish? Selfish.
Hmm.
uh, I would say, well, why do I have to make the first move? Why do I have to do this? I'm doing this, this, that, and the other. Because I told you my thing is acts of service. So I'm running around like a crazy person, doing stuff all the time that's not even necessary. But I think it is. So, but if I'm in service to him in a way that he can really receive it, then I'm not necessarily going to be mad about, the socks. It's not a big thing. It's over here. It's next to the hamper. Okay. Now I'm gonna just pick them up and wash them.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just do with that. Or let's just have a conversation maybe. But I would be suffering in silence because in my mind, he saw the socks.
Mm-hmm.
He saw whatever it is that I'm mad about, and he just chose not to do it. So that leads me to what something that I'm a big proponent of is assume good intent. When I assume good intent, then that takes all the negative away. I think of a reason that it's there, and a good reason. You know what I'm saying? It's not that, oh, he saw these socks here and he didn't pick them up, or he saw that the trash was overflowing and he needed to take it out. It's more so in the mind of, oh, you know what? He was probably looking at TV when he put the socks over, and when he threw the socks over here, he probably didn't even see it.
Mm-hmm.
Or he came in a rush, trying to get to the bathroom. He didn't, when he walked by this trash can, he didn't see it. I'll let him know that, hey, can you take the trash out for me? The trash needs to be taken out. Or I could have said something about the socks. Hey, baby, you keep leaving these socks here. Try to get them in the hamper if you can. And he probably would have been more particular about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I never said anything.
Right. So
I
you
never
dying inside. You
I
dying.
never, yeah, I just said in my mind, he
Mm-hmm.
saw these socks. He knew that he should have picked them up, and he did.
Mm-hmm.
He chose not to because he was trying to piss me off.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I agree. I
That
think
is.
if you really frame it that the person, who didn't mean anything intentionally, that's probably how it'll work. In my next life, in my next relationship, Lucille, I will let you to be my communication manager, please.
Okay,
I'm
I
not
sure
gonna I'm
will.
not gonna communicate anything. I'm just, what, I'm not even speaking to you. I'm gonna just call Lucille.
Yeah, let
She's
me
my
just call
communication
Lucille right
manager,
quick.
and she's gonna
And
talk
I'll
to you.
talk. I'll talk you off the ledge. I will talk you off the ledge because, baby, that's what I need. That's what helped me. I am the only reason why I am here 37 years later. When I thought we
Ah.
wasn't gonna make it three. And I'm gonna go back to a point in just a minute. Is that I had someone in my corner who was praying for me and who was
Mm-hmm.
there to
Mhm.
talk me off the ledge. Because I'm telling you,
Mhm.
if I had to think back, she's passed now, but if I could think back and call her and just, I know we would just laugh and crack up about all those conversations. Because I would just come into work and I'd be like, because we were just working right next to each other. You're not gonna believe what Donnie did today. And
Yeah.
I even called it. I gave it a name. Have y'all ever heard of a soap opera called As the World Turns?
Mhm.
No.
Okay, my,
Mhm.
my my street. It would say my as the name of my street turns. And she said, "Oh no."
Yeah, yeah. Lucille, you and I are so alike because mine was Days of Our Lives. These are
Oh, I
the
heard
days
about
of our
that.
lives. That's
Darla.
what I
I heard of that
that's what mine was.
one.
So Karen, what do you think about all this, especially from your culture? Because you're a different
um,
kind of
no,
culture.
I agree about everything you ladies say. A lot of it is based on especially my own experience and what I experienced, right? So you bring that on. But I also think just for women and men, I think now it's a lot of miscommunication. And a lot of it have to do with that we don't take the time to dig into ourselves or look further into ourselves. And I
Mhm.
think that, I mean, as a single person now, there is dating. I think it's a lot of game and playing, mental game playing. So it's like, come on, you know. So you don't know which way, you don't know who's genuine anymore because it seems like it's a lot of manipulation in the game, in the dating pool, and it's
It
um,
is true.
it
It
you
You
is
know,
true.
mentioned you mentioned that earlier before the show started when you were talking about, um if I understand you correctly, you were saying that the way things are set up now is these rules. I think you mentioned these
yeah,
dating
so
rules. You
many
can't don't
rules.
text him so soon, don't call him, don't do this, don't do that. If he call you, don't answer. So I don't know. But
Yeah,
this is what I told y'all. I'm talking to the audience right now. I told her,
Yes. Ah.
I said, look, when people start giving me their opinion, I hand it to them. And they look, what's that? That's a bill. Unless you're paying a bill, I don't want to hear your opinion about
Yeah, I'm
Correct.
telling you.
how I'm gonna do it. And and I may seem thirsty because I'm tell you, look,
Yes,
if
yes,
my
thing.
husband died or left me tomorrow, I would say I'd probably be married in about a year or two if I wanted to. If I wanted to.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
and the reason I say that is because I'm going to be open about what I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say that I'm just out here because that's just not me. I don't blame nobody who's out there just for the sex. If that's what you want, then that's fine. But that's not me. I'm not going to be out there just for the sex. I'm not going to be, playing any games, any mind games or whatever. And,
Mm-hmm.
and the reason why I'm going to say I would be, and that's the way I was when I was single. I really feel like that I could have been married to anybody because, um, I am the type of person who doesn't mind being vulnerable. I'll cry at the drop of a hat. I'm straightforward. I don't feel like I need to put on for anyone. I
Mm-hmm.
want what I want.
Mm-hmm.
I like what I like. And I'll just tell you that to begin with. I'm dating for intention. If you call me, I'm going to call you back. If we're on the phone till 3 o'clock in the morning saying, no, you hang up. No, you hang. No, you hang up. That's where we're gonna be. But I'm gonna be looking, and this is what I tell single women is to look for evidence. Don't
Mm-hmm.
go by what just a guy tells you.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have to read between the lines, but their behavior is the evidence that you're looking for. Because women will ask me, and I'm not sure if you wanted to go here yet. The
No,
three
go
tips
ahead. Go
that
ahead. That's good 3 tips for single women that we can
okay,
take
the
it on. We can
three
learn from it.
tips that I tell single women is uh number one, if you're a believer, now I think you mentioned Gail that you were Catholic early on, and you felt like that the differences in the belief systems had a problem. But I see people that are married to people who don't even go to church. But I
Mm-hmm.
think that the ideal way it can work if you guys are if the person is not a believer, but just know you're asking them to come from a very different place from where you're coming from. So that's what you have to take into consideration. But the ideal way is that if you are a believer in Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
get you someone who is a believer too. And that doesn't mean that you have to be of the same denomination. He could be Catholic, you could be Episcopalian, whatever it is. But if you guys can come together and the evidence is there that he is a believer and you are a believer too, then you guys can walk together in that regard. Number two is I tell people the evidence of looking, yeah, I see it in the comments, have similar religious beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
Number two is I tell women to really look at their finances,
Mm.
the man's finances and your finances too.
Right.
uh, Men or women, look at the financial um, attitude of the person that you're trying to be with. Do they like to pay their bills on time? Are they, if they're Christians, are they a tither? Do they give to charities? Do they do this? What do they do with their resources? That's important because if you got, yes, I said, look at the financial habits. If you guys can be on the same page about the finances, that is a step in the right direction where you guys can at least talk about it. But it reveals to the person who's looking what
Mm-hmm.
really is important to that person. Do they like big toys, big ticket toys? They got to have a boat. Do they have a motorcycle? Do they spend all their money on computer equipment? Is the woman, she a big shoe person? She got 200 shoes. Does she have
Mm-hmm.
purses? You, that's good to know going in so you know what you're dealing with. And then I tell them number three is, and this one don't have to be a deal breaker.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a neat person, because we talked about don't focus on the size, right? If you're a neat person, look and see how that person keeps their car, their home, that type of thing. And just know going in what it is you have to deal with. So you won't be, if you're an OCD person, don't marry somebody who's not neat because it's going to drive you crazy because you're going to be in behind them all the time because they're not even designed that way. They don't see things the same way you see it.
Yeah.
And if you're OCD, maybe you could get some help for that and kind of come down a little bit in the middle there. But yeah, just know what it is you're going into. So what did I say? Number one was be of similar faith.
Mm-hmm.
Number two,
Mm-hmm.
look at their finances because it tells a lot about uh,
Right.
them and how they view things, on how they handle their finances and what they spend money on. And then number three, if you're neat and they're not, ask yourself realistically going in, is that something that I can deal with? And if you said it is, then go in with it and don't nag them all the time about it.
I
So
think that, yeah, I think those are three great tips, and I think a lot. Some single, even for myself before, I had this idea, right? Maybe unrealistically to a certain extent, and the more I dabbled down, the more I took time to learn what, especially what you want. I think is important. If you don't know what you want, how can you actually look for those things? How can you actually know what you're looking for if you don't know what you want? So I think it starts from that, knowing what you want, what values you have for yourself, and what is a deal breaker and what is not a deal breaker.
it's
What are
not
things that you
a
can
deal
work
breaker.
on?
Mm-hmm.
I think those
Yeah.
things are important. So that's for me. That's a change. Me really taking the time to work on myself and what I really
Mm-hmm.
want and what I'm looking for. I think that helps me kind of eliminate right the
Right.
nonsense and what all the extra nonsense. But yeah, I think those are very good tips for the single
Mm-hmm.
folks. So what can we give the married people? Those who
Yeah.
are
To
ready.
stop them from getting divorced, Lucille.
Right, this right. Before we get to
Well, the three tips that I give married people are is realistic expectations.
Ooh, that's a
What
good
we were
one.
talking about earlier, focusing on the positives, and then
Hmm.
what was number three? I should have had this wrote down because I talked to it, but um, focusing on the positive, realistic expectations. Oh, and prayer. Prayer is a big
Ooh, that's important.
because you know what? It's hard to be mad at somebody who you're praying for and
Yeah.
you're asking
Mm-hmm.
the Creator to reveal to you some things about them. Because I'm gonna tell you, you said something just a few minutes, Karen, about knowing what it is you want. Um, this is something else that I tell people, single women, that of all the married women I've talked to, I haven't received a negative response to this. But this is what I tell married single women. It it's good to know what you want and to know the
Hmm.
person that you're with. But being committed to them is so important.
Yeah.
But this is what I tell them. You're gonna wake up. I don't care who you marry. I don't care how much you love them, how much you think you have the perfect person for you. You love them, that you just love seeing them. You're gonna look up in about 6 months, you're gonna say, what was I thinking?
Hmm. Yep.
Sorry, that laugh slipped out, Lucille.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You know, look up and say, what was I thinking? And
Ah,
then you gotta get to the realistic part of, yes, I married them because they have a good heart. They keep their word. They do this, they do that. Whatever the important things that you thought were important to them, that's what you're gonna have to fall back on.
Yeah.
Because
mm-hmm.
I haven't met a woman yet who hadn't said in about 6 months or less, they looked up and said, what was I thinking? Because when they say love is
Mm-hmm.
blind, yes, it's
Yeah.
blind. You're looking over some things. That's
Yeah.
why I think that a lot
Hmm.
of times if you can get some good premarital counseling, it's really good
Hmm.
because it brings up conversations that you don't even know to talk about and think about.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
just going in with your eyes wide open and being committed to that person,
Hmm.
it will
Yes, it's
just
a
make
lot
all
of
the difference.
commitment, Lucille. And I think before you get married, you have to, are you in it for the long haul? Or
I think
are you
yeah.
like, why are you in it? Why are you in it?
Yeah.
Can you see
Yeah. That's a good
yourself
point.
in this relationship with this person until the day you die, which is what your vows are saying, for better, for richer, for poor, all those things that they're there for a reason. Things are going to be good, things are not going to be that good. You might be good financially, you might not be good financially, because life is a circle. Sometimes you're on top, sometimes you're on the bottom. Can you see yourself? And when you get married and you're young and you're pretty and he's handsome, you are going to get wrinkles, your teeth might fall out. Like, I'm struggling with this gray hair all the time. I have cellulite where it should not be. I do not look like how I looked when I was 20. And then, body parts start to break down, so you might have a knee that gives out. Like, can you be in this for the long haul? Can you look after this? Can you see yourself looking after this person if they're ill and you need to feed them and you need to clean them? And
Yeah.
I try not to be a pessimist or to see the darker side, but life is not only, about the rosy. It's
Right.
also about the other stuff. And are you in this for the long haul? Because if you can't be committed 300% 20 years down the road, and I know things happen, is this really the person you want to be with? But before we go, Lucille, I have one other related question. I was preparing for this live yesterday and having a chat with somebody, and they said, "Well, people grow apart from each other. It happens. It happens all the time. They grow apart. Do people grow apart from each other, Lucilla? Like, what causes that? And even if I grow apart from you, is there any hope that we will go back together?"
Oh, absolutely. And that's right in line with what we were talking about that commitment and the vows that you were talking about. I tell women, because I've had some single women talk to me beforehand, I tell them to consider those vows. When you say for better or for worse, kind of get in your mind, what is the worst for
What's
you?
worse? What does that look
What
like?
is the worst for you? And I tell them, once you get that in your mind, what is worse? I say times it times 10.
Mm-hmm.
Times that times
Right.
10
Yeah.
because you
Mm-hmm.
don't know what is going to come. I have had a better job. There was a better paying job than my husband before. My husband has had better paying jobs than I have before. It's flip flop over the years. Out of 37 years, we've almost been in bankruptcy one time before, actually twice before. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
One
Mm-hmm.
of us of no fault of our own. Our bank was treacherous. But I mean, it's there's sickness, there's health. I lost my daughter. We've lost our parents. There's all of this stuff that happens that you've got to grow through,
That was a
and
good
working
question.
on it together. If people feel like they've grown apart,
Mm-hmm.
work on growing back together.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to find something outside of your marriage that's going to help you inside your marriage. That's the thing about it is that focus we were talking about. Don't focus on that we have grown apart now. Hopefully you're doing the work all during the time to try to stay together. But just know that you're growing. Each one of you is
Mm-hmm.
growing. And sometimes it looks like you're growing in different directions, but you can always bring that back together if you want to. That's the thing about it is, if you want to bring that back together, start pouring into your husband because or pouring into your wife, because who wants to leave somebody who is there in their corner? Do you know how hard it is to find
Mm-hmm.
somebody that is in your corner? You ladies
Mm-hmm.
are single. It's hard to find somebody. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's just me because I'm a certain person, but it's
I,
hard to find
yeah,
somebody.
I thought you were gonna say something else, Lucy. I thought you were gonna say, do you know how hard it is to divide up stuff that you've accumulated after 10, 15 years of marriage?
Oh,
It's
yeah, I don't even know.
messy.
I don't know where my
It
stuff
and
is
when you
anymore.
have children, it's even messier. Who wants to go there? If you
Absolutely.
want to
So,
go there,
Yeah.
you call me first before you go there, and I'll tell you all about it.
No, but that's a good, Gail. That was a very good question because a lot of people assume once there's no compat or once we lost contact with each other, right? And
Yeah,
once we no longer,
just call
it's
it
like
call it
divorce is the
quits.
only
Yeah,
option. It really
yeah.
shouldn't be. And I think I have to do
correct.
with the commitment that two people have for each other. If divorce is really the
Mm-hmm.
only option, especially things can be fixed. Nothing really
Yeah, sometimes
major
you feel hopeless.
happened. Yeah,
Sometimes you
yeah.
feel hopeless because that's where I was. I was feeling hopeless. Like I didn't want a divorce, but I just felt like, man, I just want the pain to stop.
Mm-hmm.
I want to stop feeling this way. I want to. I see other marriages looking, when we see them, they look happy. I want that for myself, and I think I'm going to be able to find that with somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? No, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've looked at the statistics. They said the average cost of a marriage was $26,000. Divorce $26,000. That's the average cost of the divorce. I guess that's the losses, maybe the legal fees, all of the whatever it is. But that's what they put all in that number is the cost of it to you. Uh, then the other part of it is just like you say the hurt and the feelings of
Mm-hmm.
all of that. Why wouldn't we just work on putting that back together? And sometimes it's going to have to be you first
Mm-hmm.
because we want to sit back and say, I want them to do the work first. I need them to change this first. No, you change the you change the atmosphere first,
Mm-hmm.
and it changes them automatically
Mm-hmm.
because you're showing up different. And that's what it was for me. I showed up different, and it allowed him to be able to show up different without him even knowing that anything different was going on. He's just like, I don't know. He was, oh, she said, I love you. Because I said one day, I wish he would say, I love you more. He should say, I love you to me. And I said, well, okay. You say it to him first. Hey, baby. And when we get our phone, love you. And he said, I love you too.
Look at that. That's
We get ready to go to work. Love you.
We need a part two. We
right.
need a part
Yeah, yeah.
two. You
Listen,
know why?
this
Because
we
Lucille, because
do.
you're saying yeah,
You
okay, so
do.
start, and I'll say I love you first, and then
We
he'll say
need a
yeah, I
part
love you
two.
too, right? And then what would I say? But why didn't you tell me first?
No.
I need a lot of help, Lucille. I need a lot of help. After a while, I'm like, but I always say it first. Why can't you say it first?
Yeah.
No,
He
Lucille.
could, but wait a minute. But I'm the one that said I want it, so it's up to me.
To
If
make
that's what
time
I
in
Ah,
there.
want. So
we
we've
should have
all
met
heard
you
of
so many years ago.
we've
We should
heard
have
of
met you.
sowing and reaping, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, so we
absolutely.
think
You
that
said
sowing
it.
and reaping is just financial, but it's not just financial. It's all of the
Mhm.
other stuff. When you go to work and you have those work relationships, well, I work from home right now, but if we're at work and we're dealing with customers or clients or whatever that is, how we show up is makes a difference in how they communicate and relate to us. It's the same thing in marriage.
That's
How I
true.
show up and what I sow
Mm-hmm.
into the situation makes a difference on how he shows up
Mm-hmm.
because
Mhm.
it works that way because sowing and reaping.
Mhm.
Wow. This listen,
Yeah,
this is gonna be this gotta be
that's
a
a
part
good
two
point.
because I feel like this is and this is just the surface. We didn't even get into the real, this is going
Oh,
even
we did.
deeper. This we could go even deeper
I
because
thought it took y'all off
relationship,
the rails with it.
yeah.
No,
Because
I'm good.
relationship,
I thought it was deep enough. Any
no,
deeper for me, and I'm gonna have
it
issues.
was. So I know you're having a master class, Lucille, on the
Yes,
30th.
yes, I am.
So for those who could you give people what I know the title is Get the Spark Back into Your Marriage or
Yeah,
Relationship, right?
yeah, absolutely.
So who
So
could
we're
benefit
talking
from the
about
master
reigniting the
class?
spark, just like Gail was talking
Right.
about. Sometimes you feel like you've grown apart, and we want to reignite that spark.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go to masterclass.lucillereddic.com in order to sign up for that. But I have a freebie for anybody who wants to communicate better with uh, their spouse, and
Mm-hmm.
that is 7 communication mistakes to avoid, and
Yes.
that is at 7tips.lucillereddic.com. No
Yes.
www, just 7tips.lucillereddic.com. Maybe she'll put that in the chat, or shall I put
Yeah.
it in the chat?
No,
Mm,
just put it for me in the chat there, and then I'll type it in here.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
sounds good, Lucille.
No,
All
I
right.
I'm
think
signing up. I'm signing up.
listen, relationships can be very challenging, but I think if two human beings don't make an effort to hear each other out and respect each other's points, because you're never gonna in a relationship you're not always going to agree, but even if you don't agree, respect respect each other's points. I think
Mhm.
that's good too. Like I don't have to convince you of anything. Like I don't have to try to convince you of my points if those are not your value points, and that's okay. Because that was me. I will argue just because I was trying to convince the other person, right?
Right.
So it's like I get more frustrated because I'm not
You can't
convincing
see it.
you.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna ask you about that, Karen.
Yeah,
How were things for you in
yeah. I
your
think
marriage, and then if
yeah.
there's anything you're gonna do differently? Because I know
I
you
mean,
want to
no,
get
it's a
married
lot.
again.
It's a lot because I was in a myself. I was in a broken place from a lot of stuff that happened to me in the past,
Mhm.
and I think the
Mhm.
person too was in a broken place themselves. What they say, trauma bonds or whatever they call it. I think
Yeah.
that's really
Mhm.
what it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
And now that I'm in a different place, I see where how I could have done a lot better. And I'm not
Yeah.
Mhm.
excusing, I'm not saying the person is perfect. They have their own faults, but I know what I could have done better, what I could have
Right.
improved.
Mhm.
Because honey, I was hell on wheels. I was ready.
Me
Yeah.
too.
Me too.
I was ready. You couldn't tell me nothing. I don't care who was there. If I was mad, oh honey, I don't care if your mom or your cousin here.
Some of that
I was
breathing
ready.
smoke I was
So
talking about.
Correct. Hell on wheels
right,
or
like
breathing fire.
Breathing
Okay,
fire,
Karen.
breathing fire. Yeah. Just burning up
that's this is
everything in the way.
what?
Yeah.
What? I was like, oh no, okay, that's but it takes you to a place of knowing yourself. Okay, this is what I could have done better, and working on yourself, right? At least that's what
Absolutely.
I have took the time to. Next time, this is what I'm going to do different. This is what I want to, and not
Yeah.
Okay.
also know what I want. I think how
Mhm.
comes to dating, and we the playboys trying to, you know, not
Yep.
really be intentional. Just want to date. Just
And that's okay. If that's
to,
what they
oh,
want to
I
do,
just
then
want to
do
see
that.
how it
But
goes.
yeah. No, no, no. I'm just saying if
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
run
But
up against a guy that says that he just wants to date, don't try to convince him. Just be like, that's not what I want. Okay.
no,
Next.
yeah, yeah,
But I
right.
see a lot of women,
Exactly.
they're still
Exactly.
invest time and energy in trying to change the person. And you can't
Change.
change
Right. Right.
anyone. You can only change yourself. That's
Yourself.
Yeah.
in a
Mhm.
relationship, whether you're
Yeah.
dating, whether you're married, whatever. Because believe
Yeah.
me, I
That's a fact. That's a
but
fact.
just
That's a
if that's
fact.
not what they're wanting, especially before you're married, if you're dating, if that's what they don't, if they're not into that, they're not looking for marriage, they're not looking for what you're looking for, then yeah, next. Don't
Don't
try to
waste your
change.
time.
Don't waste your
Yeah,
time.
don't waste your time. That's a
Mhm.
key for today, honey. But listen, are we about to be in closing? Any last comments? Any ladies? Any last comment, Lucille, that you want people to take home with them? And then we take Gail for your last comments.
Okay, well, I would say my last comments are is that you can absolutely change the trajectory of your marriage uh, from one side. Sometimes people, I hear wives or husbands say, well, they won't go to counseling with me.
Yeah,
Okay. So
that's
don't
that's
feel
very true.
that because they won't go to counseling with you that you can't make the changes we talked about today. And so that's what I want to tell you, to come alongside you and encourage you that you can make those small little changes. Don't try to stress yourself out making a whole bunch of changes. I'm gonna talk lovingly. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do it. Find something small that would be
Hmm.
impactful and make those small changes. Maybe it's I love you. It's investing in the relationship. It could be just I'm gonna touch him or her more. Uh, Physical
Hmm.
touch is a big thing. I'm gonna spend more intentional time. I'm gonna put my phone down and really look at them and talk to them. I'm gonna stay in the room with them a little bit more. I'm gonna like the football game that I may not like. I'm gonna stay in there
Hmm.
and talk to them or listen while they're doing the football game. Whatever it is that's impactful for your mate, you can
Yeah,
absolutely change the trajectory of your marriage by changing yourself. And
yeah,
so that's all I
yeah.
have to say with that.
That's a good one. Any last quotes? Any last comments for today's live, Gail? Before we close out.
Well, I just wanted to thank Lucille for a
Yeah.
really awesome conversation, and I don't use
Hmm.
the word awesome lightly. I found it was full of information, lots of
Hmm.
useful nuggets that she dropped, and I like the fact that at the end of it all, there is hope. Growth is not optional. Growth will happen as a result of this
Hmm.
conversation, whether you are married or whether you're single and whether you're male or female. After listening to this discussion, there is no way you can go back and be the same person that you were before because you're going to want to be better. So I wanted to thank you, especially from a personal level, for agreeing to join us and to have the conversation.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
I love this kind of conversation.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, definitely, Lucille. Thank you for just accepting our invitation to today's live. At least for me, I learned a lot, and I find it great to have people who were you married, and for me to if I have any concerns to answer to ask questions to, right? Because a
Mhm.
lot of us don't have that. So I think it's important. Listen, guys, if you know any healthy married friends, and build, community. I think you should. I think you should start a community, like some kind of like group or something. I don't know if you have that yet, but you
Well,
should, Lucille,
I do
if you
on
don't.
Facebook. I have Chosen Wives Tribe where
Oh,
Ah, nice.
yeah, so you can look it up on Facebook, Chosen
yes.
Wives.
Yeah, I'm gonna get the link, guys. We're gonna take a picture, and I am gonna put all the D's, all the links, everything, so you guys can tune in and lock in with Lucille. Because if your intention is to be married or want to be a better wife, I think you need to have a healthy somebody who's
Mhm.
healthy, right? Somebody who's been there, who
Mhm.
not somebody who never been there now,
Yeah.
right? So with that being said, y'all have a great Sunday and take care, guys.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you for having me.
You're
You're welcome.
welcome.